Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. We've got a ton of business to unpack today. We're going to be talking about the Trump assassination fallout. We've got Senator Josh Hawley, who is now demanding some answers from Homeland Security because there are questions about this drone. Apparently, the shooter was flying a drone around, and the question is, why didn't the Secret Service have counter drone measures in place? They definitely contemplated it because we saw that with Senator Chuck Grassley. He wants to know why there was a drone operator on the manifest, but then apparently there were no drones. And so Hawley now, a senator, has other whistleblowers that are approaching him saying that even local law enforcement said that we can give you some drone capability if you'd let us use them, or if you'd like to use them, they're yours. And the Secret Service declined. Why is that? Why would they not want drone technology scouring the rooftops, making sure there are no shooters up there, aiming at the president? Sheesh. So we'll talk about it. Josh Hawley and Congress have also sent in some letters that we'll take a look at and started forming some committees and some investigations. We also have some new resolutions in the House, including a Trump assassination attempt transparency act, which would declassify a bunch of this stuff, also submitted by Hawley. And so the House has some new stuff we'll look at, some bills and some other resolutions, and we've got some clips from Hawley and Comer coming up. We also have this little thing that happened yesterday when Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, was testifying in front of Congress. He was explaining a bunch of different things, and he had this little throwaway line where he said something to the effect of Trump may not have been shot by a bullet in the head. We're asking ourselves, what are you talking about? We all saw it happen on TV. He says it might be shrapnel. And so we'll listen to that. I've also got a clip from Ronnie Jackson, Trump's attorney, doctor. We talk about lawyers here so much. And he is responding to this saying, no, it was definitely a bullet. Okay, I examined the dude. And so this is a bunch of nonsense. So we'll go through that. And there's good news. David Dutch, who is the Marine veteran who was shot at the rally, has now been released from the hospital. So that's good news. We're excited to hear that. So all that will be coming up, talking through what the latest is on the assassination. Then we had this interesting story about Thomas Matthew Crooks, the shooter, so-called, who was there. He apparently did have some social media. And we're asking ourselves, that's curious because, I mean, you'd expect that. The guy's 20 and most people have social media these days. You kind of need it to even do anything, right? Log in with Facebook, log in with Google, log in with whatever, X, and so on. And so why wouldn't he have any digital profile for people to poke around and investigate? Well, turns out he may have. Gab, you know Gab, the place where everybody goes when they've been outcast from everywhere else, right? Very solid platform of solid people who have been excommunicated for spreading too much truth. Well, this guy may have been over there. In fact, we have a post from the founder of Gab, Andrew Torba, who is explaining that he got a subpoena or some sort of demand, a request. We don't know the details because he didn't publish it, from law enforcement, I believe from the feds, saying, hey, this guy may have had some activity on your account. And he apparently batched up some stuff, gave it back over to them, and then publicized that as well so that we could poke around and see what's inside. And so we'll do all of that. So we'll talk about what's up with Crooks. And then we got some Kamala business, man. She got condemned today, big time. The House of Representatives came out and said, how dare you wreck the border? You were the border czar, and you have caused chaos and catastrophe at the border. And so the House condemned her today. And then we now know that other people are asking for an investigation to start looking into whether or not she essentially threatened or blackmailed Joe to get out of office with this 25th Amendment stuff, right? Why did Joe all of a sudden exit so quickly? Well, maybe it's because Kamala was in there threatening him, get out or Hunter gets it or something. So we'll go through that. We got some other Kamala updates. Karine came out again and was really struggling today, having a difficult time getting through the press briefing. She kind of up, just almost like when you're a senior, you kind of give up like that last semester. You're like, we're done, man. I'm going to college. Peace out of here. I'm done with this. finals, I don't care, whatever. You know what I'm saying? She's kind of in that mode, and it's funny to watch it on display. Ducey came out because apparently they're handing out all these cards to try to convince people that Kamala was not the border czar. Well, she was. And so they're handing these cards out. Ducey got into it, and there was more from the press briefing. Trump was also coming out. He was at a great rally yesterday saying, I'm not being nice anymore. Okay, enough with Mr. Nice Guy. And so we'll hear from Trump at some of the rallies and see what he says about some of this and more. And so we're excited to get into it with you today, my friends. We've got a lot of business to attend to. Before we jump into it, of course, we have to keep our eyes on what's going on with this bird flu situation. Oh, man. New York Times dropped this story this week saying that they're still dealing with this bird flu stuff. Now, it's in cows, you see, may require thinking beyond the milk. I don't know what the hell that means, but, you know, we get nervous about that. But they say this is really spreading all over the place. It's going around cats, raccoons, wild birds, percolating all over the place, present in more than 20% of nasal swabs with cows. And so it's an outbreak, 13 states. You know, the big question is, of course, we have a lot of this stuff happens all the time, but is it going to jump and infect humanity? That's not what we want to have happen. And so what we'd like to do is be prepared. How do we do that? Well, we know one way we can do it. Our friends at the Wellness Company, they have a contagion prescription emergency kit, the only kit of its kind. And it comes from our friends at the Wellness Company. If you get one of these little kits, you'll see it right there. It's not that little. It's actually pretty hefty, but it's got a bunch of stuff inside. Bird flu stuff, might be COVID stuff, respiratory illnesses. We never know what's coming. So we want to have some stuff prepared. Z-Pak, Tamiflu, budesonide, nebulizers, all in there. It's got instructions. So you have a pack of emergency meds on hand in case you need them. It's been assembled, backed by research from people like Dr. Peter McCullough. Every American should be prepared and have at least one of these kits in their home. Ordering yours, very easy. Takes less than 2 minutes. Go to twc.health/Robert, links in the description below, and you'll save some money off your order, baby, and you'll get free shipping when you use code Robert at checkout. So that way you can be prepared no matter what. twc.health/Robert, links in the description below. Use code Robert at checkout. These kits are only available in the United States, and it's good to be prepared, my friends. And so let's make sure we do that. And now, without any further ado, let's get into the business. Why did the Secret Service decline to use drone countermeasures on the day of the Trump rally? One question Josh Hawley, senator, is asking and answering. And so now let's share the appropriate tab here. That's the one question that Hawley is asking. Here it is. You can see from Hawley himself. Senator Josh Hawley now sending a demand over to the Honorable Alejandro Mayorkas, from the United States Senate. Drafted this puppy July 25th. Josh Hawley, as we know, is from the great state of Missouri. He says, all right, listen, Alejandro, I've talked to you many times. And since I last wrote to you just a couple days ago, my office has received new whistleblower allegations that further call into question your department's preparations on the day of J13, the attack on American democracy, saying the American people deserve answers about your historic failure to protect former President Trump on J13. It was historic. And boy, was it a failure, Alejandro. Now, according to the reports, the shooter used a drone to survey the site in preparation for his attack. Did more than the Secret Service did. This was confirmed by FBI Director Christopher Wray in his testimony yesterday. Now, in fact, he confirmed that the shooter was operating the drone approximately 2 hours before President Trump took the stage in Butler, Pennsylvania. So this raises an obvious question, Alejandro. Why, oh why, was the U.S. Secret Service not using its own drones? According to one whistleblower who has now contacted the senator, the night before the rally, U.S. Secret Service repeatedly denied offers from a local law enforcement partner to utilize the drone technology to secure the rally. Why would they do that? So this means that the technology was both available to the Secret Service and it was able to be deployed to secure the site by local law enforcement. Right there. It's like, hey, it's like right here. Like, you want to use the drone? They're like, no, we don't need it. It's like, that's right here, though, and we don't need it. Well, I'm like, can I fly it? I love flying the drone. I'm here. I'd like to secure. No, we don't need it. Well, what if there's a shooter on the roof? No drones. Yeah, this is getting weird. Secret Service said no. It's like, it's free, though. You don't want it? It's free. It's right here. No, we don't need it. We're the Secret Service. The whistleblower further alleges, man, I hope they keep coming, man. Shout out to our whistleblowers. We love our whistleblowers so much here. The whistleblower further alleges, heroic whistleblower further alleges that after the shooting took place, the Secret Service changed course and asked the local partner to deploy the drone technology to surveil the site in the aftermath of the attack. After it was over. Where'd those shots come from? Anyone have any ideas where we can figure that? Oh, drones. Let's get some drones going, huh? Yeah, that'd be a lot easier. It's so hot outside, by the way, also. We don't want to get on that roof lest we slip and fall and break our hips. It is hard to understand why the Secret Service would decline to use drones when they were offered, particularly given the fact that the Secret Service permitted the shooter to overfly the rally area with his own drone mere hours before the event. The failure to deploy drone technology is all the more concerning, Alejandro, since, according to this whistleblower, the drones that the Secret Service was offered had the capability not only to identify active shooters, but also to help neutralize them, which we didn't want. You know, certainly don't want to stop somebody when they're in the middle of an assassination. That's have to talk to chain of command on that one. So that Congress can continue its investigation, Alejandro, please provide no later than 7 days from now all records and communications concerning the availability and the use of drones at the July 13th rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. You must also testify before Congress next week, punk, about these staggering security failures by your department. It's called Homeland Security. Didn't seem like there was a lot of security over our homeland. That's what your department is responsible for, Mayorkas. Sincerely, your friend, Josh Hawley, United States Senator from Missouri. So that is what he dropped on X, and he's got more to say about this. We have a clip of Hawley coming up to see what his reaction is here. But we do have some other footage that has dropped. New drone footage shows a sight line that the Trump shooter used to open fire on the rally. After the shots took place, then the Secret Service was like, drones, let's get the drones out. Then they started flying them all over the place. Nice job. So we're going to watch some of this, which has been posted by Fox. And for background, they tell us the following. They say Fox News drones provided a new perspective. Oh, these were from Fox News. I think there's some body cam footage interspersed in here, so we'll watch some of both. Former President Trump and Secret Service counter sniper teams were all there. Now, the Secret Service agent who neutralized Crooks was stationed on a building behind Trump. Drone footage shows he would have only seen part of Crooks's body at the time. Now, body cam footage, also released the day of the shooting, shows confusion among the Secret Service agents and local police. I don't know what's going on. Several officers can be seen standing around Crooks's body on the roof discussing the incident. Now, here's a scene from this, and there's blood all over the place. And so many platforms are taking it down immediately because of that. So be cautious if you're posting that. But for this video, you can see, or this image, you can see they're all up there standing around. What the hell happened here? The officers found 8 bullet casings around Crooks, a number that lines up with the testimony from Ray. Now, in addition to his rifle, Crooks brought 2 explosive devices. We knew that. And the explosives were found near the in the vehicle near the rally. Ray testified, updating lawmakers, third time that they've had different hearings. Cheadle resigned, as we know. And so here is some more of that drone footage from Fox News.
Yeah, and that's video that was released late last night.
So some body cam released by Chuck Grassley as ESU was going in.
I think they're on the roof. Is that where the dude is too? Yeah, he's up there too. So the ladders are en route. So the operator suffered lacerations in the hand from climbing up, so like we might need minor stitching. Okay. Cool.
Got their ladder out.
If you're standing on the stage to the right, if you're out in the crowd looking at the stage to the right. Yeah. He was on a roof outside of the fence.
You need anything, brother? So gripping just to watch it again. That's video that was released.
All right, so then they walk over there, and of course they get to the scene.
Office shared with our team. They're in Butler, Pennsylvania. Brian Yennis and CB Cotton. That video shows officers at the beginning trying to get through that fence and reach the building where the gunman fired at President Trump. This as we learn more about the shooter and the day he spent leading up to that point. CB Cotton back live in Butler to fill us in on everything that we know or think we know now. CB, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Bill. This new extended body camera video from the Beaver County Emergency Services Unit shows the chilling moments after gunman Thomas Matthew Crooks was killed and the evidence officers found near his body.
It is a remote control device. It is gray in color, about 5-6 inches tall, about 1.5 to 2 inches wide, powered by a 9-volt battery.
Hey, whose backpack is that? Hey. He did. I'll show you the picture of the bike and the backpack he had. So this was his picture. There it is.
There it is. There's his picture.
Where's that at?
Shells over here.
On both sides. Looks like what, at least 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8. Initial count.
At least 8.
At least 8 there in that initial
Director
count.
Christopher Wray testified that Crooks scoped out the rally site with a drone 3 times before he tried to kill former President Donald Trump. We flew our drone over the rally site to reveal the edge. Crooks apparently gave himself over the counter snipers. You can see here, Crooks was mostly concealed by trees. Crooks was killed by a Secret Service counter sniper with what a source told us was a, quote, 1 in a million shot. And we now know why. Our drone capturing the obstructed view the sniper possibly had, allowing him to only see part of the gunman. One man tells me he felt there was not enough security for the vast space of the rally site, so he never went in.
I didn't see any security. I said, I felt prompted. I'm not going in. It's not worth it. I can see him right there, and that's what I felt. I said, I don't really need to see him face to face.
Interesting.
The Butler County District Attorney is now sparring with state police who testified to Congress earlier this week that local snipers left a critical post unguarded. Richard Goldinger says that's not true. Bill.
Wow. CB, thanks. Good to have you back again today. CB Cotton in Butler, PA, where there...
All right, so good analysis there. Now, we also see that there's going to be a strong effort from both houses to try to make sure this entire investigation is as transparent as possible. We've got Hawley is now introducing the Trump Assassination Attempt Transparency Act to try to declassify a lot of this stuff. He says no more of this stonewalling garbage. All right, enough already. Says his details keep coming out. One lawmaker trying to introduce this. Wray testified. Hawley says, we need the truth about the assassination attempt. We can't let the federal government hide behind this classified label. Not going to do it. Says the bill would require the Director of National Intelligence and the FBI and the Secretary of Homeland to declassify any critical information about the assassination attempt and the motive of the shooter. Legislation, if passed, would also require intelligence agencies to produce a report to Congress. Cheadle resigned, and one of the bullets fired by Crooks hit Corey Competore, killing him, peace to him and his family. Now, more questions than answers have arisen since this has gone on. Hawley says it's time for accountability. Now, the House of Representatives also created a bipartisan commission to take a look at this. And we'll take a look at what the commission entails. Here is what happened. This was introduced, H.R. 1367, establishing the task force on the attempted assassination of Donald J. Trump. Introduced in the House of Representatives by Mike Kelly from Pennsylvania, agreed to in the House. And it looks like this is what we will be getting. Let's read through the PDF and see how this new task force will work. Now, it's a task force is what they're calling it. They're not going to call it a committee. But I encourage the moniker, the label here of J13, because this was an attack on American elections. This was an attack on American democracy. And J6 really wasn't any of those things. It was a rigged riot by the feds with people embedded all over the place. So what we really want is forget about J6. It's meaningless. It's old news. It's 2021. It's time to retire that. The proper J is to replace J6 with J13. And it should be repeated over and over and over again. The J13 attack on our elections, which was, of course, an attack on Trump. So we're going to just repurpose all of their propaganda language and just use it in truth for what actually happened. Label this J13th attack as the J13th attack on America. So as we can see, an attack on America for J13 requires a J13 committee. We can't just have no committee. Obviously, we need one. So this is going to be called the task force. We'll just call it the J13th committee so that everybody forgets about the J6 committee because it's meaningless and stupid. And it was a production from the media anyway, so nobody cares. So this is much better. The J13th committee is now being created pursuant to HR 1367 by Mr. Kelly. Now, here's what we got. This is important. Remember that the January 6th loser fake committee created one of these and then violated all their own rules. They were supposed to have 13 members, 8 Democrats, 5 Republicans, and they didn't. They had 9 people, 7 Democrats, 2 Republicans in violation of their own rules. We'll see if the Republican House follows that pattern or not. But here is the latest. It says, this is hereby established. It's called the Task Force on the Attempted Assassination of Donald Trump. And it shall be composed of not more than 11 members, delegates, or the resident commissioner appointed by the Speaker, not more than 5 of whom shall be appointed after consultation with the minority leader. This is the same provision in H.R. 503, which created the J6 committee that Nancy Pelosi violated. Now, the Speaker shall designate 1 member of the task force as its chair. A vacancy in the membership of the task force shall be filled in the same manner as the appointment. So it looks like we'll have 11 and total. So 6 and 5. So 6 Republicans, 5, 1 chair. Don't see anything about a vice chair. The Speaker and the minority leader shall be ex officio members of the task force, but have no vote. The Speaker and the minority leader may each designate a staff member to assist, to prepare materials. Now, here are the functions: to investigate and fully examine any agency, any department, any officer or employee of the federal government, or any private entities that are related to this attack, the J13th attack. Issue a final report of its findings to the House no later than 12/13. So December 13th, after the election is over. Womp. So not going to see much there. And that's lame. Say issue a final report of its findings at the end of the year. Interim reports say, in addition to any final report, the task force may issue interim reports. So maybe we'll see something sooner. And any report issued by the task force shall be issued in an unclassified form, but may include a classified annex. So you can have, it's got to be published, but you might have a little addendum, something, behind the scenes that is classified that we cannot see. Now, you're authorized here, according to the House rules, various rules being invoked. The chair of the task force may also authorize subpoenas. So we've got 6 Republicans, 5 Democrats. The chair, by a simple vote, can authorize subpoenas. Presumably that's Republicans in control. The chair of the task force, upon consultation, also may order the taking of depositions. So consultations with the ranking minority member. I don't really know what that means, how they consult with one another. Depositions taken under the authority prescribed shall be governed by the procedures as dictated elsewhere. Members of the task force to question a witness. They can hold hearings and may question people for 5 minutes. The chair may also postpone further proceedings. So the rules on how this works. Funding is all discussed. Any committee of the House of Representatives having custody of records shall transfer those records They talk compensation and other items. Now, the disposition, once this whole thing is over, final page, the task force shall terminate 10 days after the filing of the final report. Then you're done. All records shall become records of the committee designated by the speaker. So that's the committee. So 6 and 5, they'll have subpoena power. They'll be able to ask questions, hold depositions, draw testimony. We'll have a final report in December. There may be interim reports, and we'll see how this goes forward. Remember, the last time this happened, when the Democrats were in charge, the Republicans tried to point Jim Jordan and other people, and Nancy Pelosi said no. So she just told him to get the hell out of her office, and the Republicans were like, okay, Nancy, fine, that's fine. And then they left. And then she appointed Liz Cheney and Kinzinger, and she called it in consultation with the minority party. They were two Trump haters, and they just put them on the thing and called it a bipartisan panel. So we'll see if this is actually a little bit more bipartisan and if they actually get to the bottom of anything. But that has gone forward in the House. We know Josh Hawley is bringing something very similar in the Senate. Here is an exchange of Hawley explaining some of the work that he is doing from the other House.
We have, I guess, a situation where we're supposed to believe it's Secret Service protocol to allow a private citizen to fly a drone in the vicinity of an area where a high-value target is about to speak, whether it's in an hour or 2 hours. I guess that's protocol.
Yeah, that's the stupidest thing I've heard yet, Laura, and I've heard a lot of stupid stuff surrounding this investigation. I mean, first of all, the Secret Service clearly had no idea what they were doing on the day. Whistleblowers, new whistleblowers, tell me, Laura, that actually law enforcement were supposed to be stationed on that roof. But the person who was supposed to be there decided to get off the roof because it was too hot. And then whistleblowers tell me law enforcement were supposed to be patrolling the perimeter of the building, and they didn't do that either because, again, it was too hot. And so they went inside. I mean, this is a shambles from top to bottom, beginning to end. And I'm glad that Secret Service director, the former one, is gone, but that needs to be just the beginning. Lots of people need to lose their jobs, and I'm coming to think the Secret Service needs to be totally overhauled.
Totally overhauled, if not investigated for criminal charges, right? There's a thing called criminal neglect, and they always like in the government to just point to their qualified immunity and the incompetence fairy protects everybody. But if incompetence fairy strikes 35 times, is it just incompetence, or is that somebody stringing incompetence fairy dust all over everything so that they can just wreck the incoming Republican nominee? We think it's the latter. James Comer says that Joe Biden is just a disaster. Not only did he slap America in the face with his little funeral speech, can you believe he eulogized himself? I've never seen that before in my whole life, but he did that. And James Comer is explaining that, but also commenting on what happened with Christopher Wray in the aftermath of the congressional testimony provided by the FBI.
For more, let's welcome in Kentucky Congressman and Chairman of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer. Good morning, Congressman. So I want to start with the investigation into the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. We learned nothing from now former Director Cheadle, but FBI Director Christopher Wray gave some new information yesterday. Take a listen.
We are investigating the shooter both to determine his motive and his preparations and activities before the shooting, but also to make sure whether or not there are any co-conspirators, accomplices.
At this point, have you developed any evidence to so suggest that there are any accomplices or cooperators or assisters?
Not at this time, but again, the investigation is ongoing.
So now we're learning a little more about the shooter, Congressman, and I know the House voted a few days ago to create a task force to further investigate the assassination attempt because we're essentially still in the dark on how this went so wrong. How do we get answers and transparency here?
Well, you know, with Christopher Wray's FBI, I don't know how you get answers. I mean, we're still waiting for answers for simple questions that we've asked about various probes months and months ago. But at the end of the day, I think Christopher Wray knows every American wants to know what really happened. And I think Christopher Wray saw what happened to Director Cheadle when she testified before my committee and didn't answer any questions. She didn't last 24 hours.
Yeah, that's true, Mr. Comer. But they wanted her to go. She was their little scapegoat. So she's gone. No more questions from her. What do you want, right? She's resigned already. So now she's free to go hang out with Nathan Wade and travel around on cruise ships. But it's not going to be something where she's going to be there subject to inquisition time and time again. Come back in here. Come back in here. Oh, you said that the first time. Now you lied. Oh, you said that the second time. Then you lied again. Now she's done. Comes in, says nothing. It's all just, oh, it's too early in the investigation to know anything. Oh, great. She resigns. Then we don't actually have to measure her performance in the aftermath of the investigation. She's already resigned. So there's no need for remediation at all. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of a victory because she's not there anymore. But part of the issue when you do a government investigation is you want to catch these people lying and flip-flopping all over the place. And the way you do that is by multiple hearings. Last time you said this, Cheadle, what changed, huh?
After that committee was over, and I don't think he wanted to repeat that. So he said a few things that I think were interesting, a few things that I think Americans wanted to know about. But at the end of the day, we have many more questions, and hopefully this new commission that the House unanimously approved last night will be able to get to the bottom of a lot of questions that we have.
See.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know during the oversight hearing Monday, you grilled Cheadle on the claim that the sloped roof was too unsafe for law enforcement officers to be on. And then a video was released a day later of Secret Service on that sloped roof after killing the shooter. What was your reaction to that?
And 70-year-old congressman.
Well, look, that never made sense. And Director Cheadle, as I said in my questioning of her, that she answered the shooting than she did in front of Congress. But at the end of the day,
right.
Growing.
When she's not under oath, she makes up stuff so the public can hear it. When she's under oath, she doesn't make up things, just says, I don't know, because the investigation's ongoing. That gives her no risk of criminal liability for lying to Congress. And then she resigns and she's done. Right? The whole thing's mopped up. Kimberly Cheadle, it was all her fault and she's gone. Nice. So cover up, mop up operation complete.
Up on a farm and dealing with lots of metal roofs. That's not a very sloped roof. I could tell from the picture, and there the video you're showing proves that. To say that the roof was too sloped, especially when the roof that the sniper who exterminated the shooter was on was a lot more sloped than that one, that just wasn't a good answer. And every American could see that. So the fact that Director Cheadle wasn't forthcoming with that is a problem. What we believe, the reason that there weren't Secret Service on that roof is because it was too hot. Look, it was a hot day. It was outside, and I can guarantee you that roof was scalding hot. But that's not an excuse. I mean, you've got to prepare for that, and you've got to have security at all the high points. That's common sense, and it's just really a sad day for the Secret Service that shooter was allowed to get on that roof with a gun, to crawl all across that roof, even when people noticed the shooter.
The crowd noticed the shooter. They warned. Local cops were in the same room as the Secret Service. Presumably they knew about it. The guy was there with eyes on. They brought Trump out anyways. The list goes on.
And get off 8 shots before he was exterminated.
Yeah, I want to pivot now to President Biden's address last night, 11 minutes. And in those 11 minutes, 7 times he mentioned the need to defend democracy. That seemed to be the narrative last night. We were hoping to get more of an explanation as to why he dropped out of this race, but I felt like we didn't. What did you make of his remarks last night?
No, Joe Biden just slapped democracy in its face. He did not allow any Democrat to file for president. You look at Robert F. Kennedy, who wanted to run as a Democrat. They squeezed him out. They changed the rules. They switched the states around. Iowa and New Hampshire always go first, but the Democrats switched it around to South Carolina. They did everything they could to prevent anyone from running for president. They assured everyone that Joe Biden was healthy and he was going to run for president. Then after all the states cast their ballots, 14 million ballots, then he drops out and handpicks his successor in a smoke-filled room. This is the biggest slap to the face of democracy that I've ever witnessed. We all know Joe Biden isn't in good enough health. He wasn't in good enough health when he filed. They knew that they always had this option. If he wasn't polling well enough against Donald Trump, that he could pull out. They knew they had the liability of all the financial crimes that his family's committed that we've proven in our investigation. Joe Biden had the liability of his horrible track record, and Joe Biden had the liability of just being a crappy candidate. So they are the party that slap democracy in its face. And last night was a perfect example.
Yeah, well, they've lied and lied and lied and lied about Joe. And then everybody realized it. And then they threw him out like a bag of trash right over a bridge. It was pretty shameful what they did. And we talked about this morning on our members only stream about how furious we'd be if they ever tried to pull something like this with our candidates and our President Trump. We'd be very upset about that. But the Democrats here really don't care. You know, they're just like, whatever. Kamala, she's amazing. Kamala, ugly, crying all over themselves, snotting all over themselves. Well, that's weird. I thought you were just saying Joe is amazing, so they just don't care. And Kamala will only be as good as she is good. If she's not any good, they're going to talk about nuking her too. So she better be careful, right? There's no loyalty amongst them. So Comer is right. It was a slap in the face. And if they're going to lie about Joe's capability, what else are they lying about? Everything. It should be the first domino in a long sequence of Democrat awakenings, but many of them are too far gone to realize what has been done. Now, speaking of causing gaslighting to continue to occur, Christopher Wray is out explaining why he thinks that maybe Trump wasn't even shot with a bullet, which is just outstanding, okay, because we all saw it. But here is what he came out with. And the Secret Service confirmed it was a bullet. We played that earlier when we were covering the immediate aftermath. People were speculating it was a balloon popping or something. No, it was a bullet. Secret Service said the same. Now, the FBI's director has cast doubt, did this intentionally, just to give the whack jobs on the Democratic side something to talk about. Says, we don't even know if Trump was actually struck by a bullet. Now, we've got Trump's doctor who's going to come in and confirm this for us. But Christopher Wray was updating Congress when he said, and we'll listen to him say this, but with respect to President Trump, there's some questions about whether or not it's a bullet or shrapnel that actually hit his ear. He said, I don't know right now whether that bullet, in addition to causing the grazing, could have landed somewhere else. Wray was addressing the security failures that allowed Crooks to fire. Crooks killed Corey Compatore and injured 2 others. Trump's been having a bandage over his ear, and Christopher Wray was there. We all watched it happen. So the shot comes and almost hits Trump. When I went down, says Trump, bullets were coming over my head. You hear him. It's like zip, zip. President claims, they said, that thought it was over when I went down because a lot of blood was coming out after the ear was grazed. Trump then said, fight, fight, fight. It was the most amazing thing you've seen maybe ever. The July 6th online search from the guy was talking about where is Oswald? How far was Oswald? There's Trump getting hit in the head with a bullet. Some people were saying it was glass. Where'd that glass come from? If it wasn't a bullet, where'd the shrapnel come from? That means the first shot hit something and then caused shrapnel to hit him in the ear. Where was the first shot then? Where'd the first shot go? Or was it the second shot? So some shrapnel. Give me a break. All right, so eyewitness captured the whole thing. The photographs captured the whole thing. FBI is investigating it as an act of domestic terrorism. Okay, now that search obviously is significant, they say. We don't know what the motive is. Really hard to figure out what the motive is when you try to assassinate someone. I wonder what it could be. The hearing had been scheduled well before, and there was some conversation between the FBI, Justice Department. Others said, Trump wrote this. I watched the congressional hearing today as Christopher Wray was asked the question whether or not he noticed any cognitive degeneration in his many conversations with Crooked Joe, said Trump. And then he continues saying, Wray should resign immediately from the FBI and stop sweet-talking Congress. Yeah, and if you can't see that, you shouldn't be running the FBI. Joe's demented. And you tried to illegally raid Mar-a-Lago, said Trump. He should resign right now for lying to Congress. Yeah, and for creating investigations against political opponents in America and a lot more. So that is what Christopher Wray said. And Christopher Wray's comments were rebutted by Donald Trump. His doctor, Ronnie Jackson is the name. Here is what Ronnie Jackson, the good doctor, said on Fox.
Quick sound on this, gentlemen. Here it comes.
With respect to former President Trump, there's some question about whether or not it's a bullet or shrapnel that that hit his ear.
All right, there you have it. Bullet or shrapnel, Ronnie Jackson? I know you examined President Trump. What's Ray talking about, and do you agree or not?
Absolutely not, Larry. This is absolutely ridiculous that he would make a comment like this. This degrades any level of credibility that this man may have had after years of weaponizing the FBI and the DOJ against the president. It was absolutely a bullet. I examined it. It was the track of a bullet. It was scooped out in the just as it would be in the track of a bullet. It had the telltale other damage that is associated with it. All the surrounding tissue in the ear was swollen and edematous. His ear looked like a wrestler's ear when it was fat and swollen, and that goes along with the trauma from a high-velocity bullet as it passes through tissue. That's a hallmark of a gunshot wound, is that the tissue outside around the bullet track is also traumatized and damaged, and that would not happen from a piece of glass or even from a fragment. That was a bullet. Everybody saw it. The whole world witnessed what happened.
Right.
That's why this man's being butchered right now, because it was on live television.
But I also, but Ronnie, I also have read that that bullet ricocheted off of Mr. Trump's ear area and hit it injured one of the people in the crowd.
Right. That bullet went somewhere. I mean, it passed through the top of his ear. It didn't stop there. So, they need to find out what happened. This is the organization that's tasked with the investigation of the assassination attempt. And it's irresponsible for this man to make these kind of comments as a sitting FBI director, because all he does is add fuel to the fire for the morons and the assassination deniers like Joy Reid and Keith Olbermann and other idiots like that are out there that don't want the public, or they're trying to minimize what happened to the president. He almost died, Larry. It's as close as you can come to get, as close as you can get to dying. So this was a big deal, and for them to try to minimize it just pisses me off, quite frankly.
Yeah, well, they're trying to give some credence to the other conspiracy theories that they're constantly railing about, right? There's a contingent of the Democratic Party that says there was no bullet, that Trump made the whole thing up. They have these little memes out there saying that Trump fell down and popped some ketchup packet on his head or something like that. That's how demented they are. They don't even want to admit what the Secret Service themselves are admitting and what we all saw with our own eyes. But they'd rather, I guess, not trust the physics. Just tell them to trust the physics, idiots. But we do have good news. Marine veteran David Dutch, who was shot at the Trump rally, has now been released from the hospital. So good news from them in this location in Butler, outside Butler. He was released from the hospital on Wednesday. Dutch was discharged from the Allegheny General Hospital following an 11-day stay after he was shot, maybe with shrapnel or broken glass. I don't know. Dutch of the New Kensington was struck twice, once in the chest, once in the liver. Wild. When the 20-year-old gunman, he survived 2 gunshots. Man, what a badass. Holy moly. Once to the chest, once in the liver. Outstanding. Look at this dude, man. Shoot. That's hardcore, dude. Hopefully he's good. So Dutch, I mean, sounds tough too, survived an assassination attack. Unbelievable. So he was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. He was put into medically induced coma. Oh my gosh. Underwent multiple surgeries. According to the Marine Corps, a second wounded rally goer called James Copenhaver still undergoing treatment at Allegheny, where he's listed in serious but stable condition, according to medical staff. And so, good news, glad he's out. Copenhaver is this fella, 74-year-old retired grandfather, was also shot. Oh man, suffered life-altering injuries, his family said previously in a statement, man. So shout out to our friend Copenhaver, 74 years old, and to his family. Third victim, Corey, of course we know has passed away, but the other 2 are seemingly healing, and we'll continue to pray for him. So Cheadle has resigned. The Congress is investigating. We have a Transparency Act that is now moving in the Senate. We have a House committee, which has been created, 6 Republicans, 5 Democrats, and we're going to be here continuing to cover it. So thank you for joining us as we do, my friends. Wherever you're watching it, we'd love you if you subscribe to this channel and sent our channel information to a friend or family member so that they too could join us when we go live. And we'll look forward to seeing you and them back here on the next one. And so, my beautiful friends, we have more to get to. And we're going to stick with talking about Thomas Crooks because we have an interesting update that we need to get into starting now with Andrew Torba. Social media posts from the shooter at the Trump rally may be now in existence. We were wondering whether he had an online profile at all. It seemed very strange for a 20-year-old to not have a big social presence. But now we might have found something. In fact, it comes from a place you may know called Gab. Andrew Torba is the founder, the creator of Gab, and he is over on X at Based Torba. You can see he's the CEO of the organization. And what he has posted is very curious. And so we're going to spend some time on this because he's telling us that about 30 minutes ago, and we are going to repost this if you're following along at home so you can join us as we go through it. But he posted this saying approximately 30 minutes ago from 11:30 on July 24th, he said Gab has learned that Thomas Crooks, the deranged Joe Biden supporter who attempted to assassinate President Trump, may have had an account on their platform, Gab. We are unable to confirm that the account in question actually belonged to him, but let's see why he thinks it's legitimate. When we scroll down, and we'll spend some time on these posts, here's the context. The reason we know that this is maybe him is because we received an emergency disclosure request from a law enforcement agency. Whether it's the feds or state law enforcement, we don't know. But that's what he said, right? The reason we know is because we received it. Now, people are saying, just post it, okay? Post the document, and he's not done that. But he's also explaining that he got the request and that he disclosed this to them. And so I think that is probably something worth considering. And here is more from Mr. Torba. He says 30 minutes ago, Gab learned about this. Now, we're unable to confirm this, so take that with a grain of salt or do your own analysis on this. But here's what they're telling us. The account was last active on the site in 2021. Now, as far as we are aware, the account did not use the site to send any direct messages. He posted on the site 9 times total. Now, while the account made very few posts on the site, the majority of them were in support of President Biden. Oh, man. You're kidding. They told us he was a Trump supporter who wanted to kill Trump. Which is really weird. Not a supporter, according to my definition. Hey, we really support you, Rob. It's like, are you going to shoot me in the head? What are you talking about? So that doesn't make a lot of logical sense. It makes sense that he might have some disagreements with Trump or want Trump taken out or think Trump is a Nazi or Trump is going to undermine American democracy or whatever Joe Biden has been saying. And who says stuff like that? People who support Joe Biden. So a number of the posts in particular expressed support for President Biden's COVID lockdowns, border policies, and other executive orders. We have saved the account data pending receipt of a search warrant, right? So at some point, this may become part of the official record. He's just telling you, this is what I got. Somebody may have made these accounts or done something, but it looks like these are old, right? From 2021. And here's what he is writing. So this is the user. And this user is responding to Cat Turd. Says, didn't you also think Biden would lose in a landslide? Yeah, I would not be very confident in your election predictions, Cat Turd. Shout out to Cat Turd. Same user is responding. Says, first of all, Biden's executive orders don't incentivize human trafficking. Okay, as human traffickers aren't interested in citizenships. But the people who they're trafficking might be. Likewise, the majority of illegal immigrants are not criminals. And in fact, some studies, this person says, such as the one linked below, show lower crime rates of crime committed by these individuals. Also unclear which is wild that they always say that. But it's like, don't you understand they broke the law by coming in the first place? It's also, no, they say, well, no, it's amnesty. They're fleeing. They're demanding amnesty because of the harsh conditions they're leaving or something. It's also unclear if the extensive path to citizenship is in fact effective at routing out bad potential actors, hence why there is a review of that system. So that was one sequence of posts, and Torba continues. He says, we are disclosing this information at significant personal and business risk, saying if this past is of any guide, defying the DC consensus by publishing the first definitive evidence that the shooter was in fact a Biden supporter, which makes logical sense. Something Democrats and their media allies have tried to cover up and deny at every turn. They're trying to make this about generic political violence. It's not. It's about J13, the attack on American democracy, the attack on our elections. Has a high probability of resulting in significant media and political backlash. Andrew Torba from Gab says, in the past, we have been the target of politically motivated inquiries from both the House Oversight Committee and the Joint Committee on the J6 attacks, both of which sought to interfere with our mission of protecting free speech online. Now, the enemies of freedom have the ability to impose significant present and future legal costs, and any donations that we get may help to defray those costs. So if you wish to support them, consider it by going to donate.gab.com. Donate.gab.com. So here's some more posts from this alleged user. These may be the social media posts from the Trump assassin. Mitchell V is the user that this user is responding to. Says, okay, so for one, the turnout in 2020 was 66%, while in 2012 it was 55%. So comparing just the number of votes isn't accurate. If you're measuring candidates' popularity, look at the percentage of the overall votes. You'll find Trump won 46% of the votes, lost the popular vote. He still won 46%. So they're talking about the aftermath of the election. Responding again. Actually, the executive order allows an easier path to U.S. citizenship, therefore no longer making them illegals and allowing children to join their already legalized immigrant parents in the U.S., right? So wide open borders, dude loves it. Says the reason all the deaths are down is because you are stuck in your house. I think probably talking about COVID deaths. So agreeing with the lockdowns. Responding to Prison Planet, which is an Alex Jones related property. Says that's funny, Prison Planet, because the first order mandates a reuniting of any family separating at the border. The second and third orders are a review of Trump's immigration policies and other previous policies. However, his order doesn't actually open borders or reduce the authority of Border Patrol or anything that would substantially reduce Border Patrol's effectiveness. Yeah, eating those words. So I'm sorry, but this guy's talking out of his butt. Also said, I'm sorry, but explain to me how Trump was ever concerned with what the left wanted, or anybody in the GOP for that matter. So there's a comment about Trump. I don't know exactly what he's responding to or what the context is of all of these replies, but it's certainly interesting. So then he shares this. Andrew Torba also shared this. It's epic microwave. Are the comments over on Gab. And so if you actually go over to Gab, you can in fact see those here. It's exactly what it looks like. So from Epic Microwave apparently is the user that they were trying to get information about. Whether this is the shooter or not remains to be seen, but it's certainly curious that Torba says they got an emergency disclosure request from a law enforcement agency. Why would they be doing that? Why would they need that if or request that if it wasn't something meaningful? So interesting there. We also had Senator Ron Johnson was out talking about this, saying, we know Cheadle's gone, but they had another briefing with the director, Ronald Rowe, who has replaced her. He's the acting director until Biden appoints somebody new. Johnson was out saying that he's actually optimistic about where this is going, saying that the new director seems to be forthcoming.
We were briefed by acting director Ron Rowe, as well as an FBI briefer, and is quite honestly a confidence-building briefing. They were pretty forthright. You could tell that acting director Rowe is viscerally concerned about what happened to his agency there, and he wants to correct it. He said he can't defend what happened in Pennsylvania. He went there yesterday. So I was actually pretty encouraged by what we heard in our briefing, and we're going to have a hearing on Tuesday in Homeland Security Government Affairs. So hopefully it'll be very transparent with the American public, as genuine and forthright as he was in the briefing this morning. We were briefed by...
All right, so that's good news. We'll see if Ron Johnson will be satisfied with this new director of the Secret Service and whether they'll get new information, but we will be covering it regardless because we have our doubts about these federal agencies. But interesting stuff. We're grateful to Gab for existing and for Torba for being transparent about what is out there, maybe the social media account of the very shooter, and it would shatter the narrative that he's a Trump supporter, which has always been logically insane, because why would a supporter shoot someone they support? Doesn't make any sense unless you have lefty logic. And so we'll be continuing to cover this, my friends. Thank you for subscribing. As we do, we'll see you back here on the next one. But we're not done yet. We've got one more segment to attend to, my friends. And so let's see what else is out there. Yes, we have Kamala Harris got condemned by the House, and not only the Republicans, this was bipartisan. Democrats joining in on the fun. In fact, half a dozen Democrats joined the GOP in condemning Kamala Harris and her work on the border because it was so terrible. And she was clearly the border czar. We covered that here live, watched her little speech when she came out and she said, "Don't come." Remember, she went up down to Guatemala and stood up there behind that podium and lectured everybody down there. Said, "Don't come to our country." We said, wow, it's pretty racist, Kamala. So she did it. And now they're saying that she didn't do it. And so the Republicans have said, yeah, you did do it. You were the border czar. You were supposed to resolve all of this. Things were pretty well situated until you guys came in, undid all of Trump's policies, caused total wreckage down there. And now you're trying to say it wasn't her responsibility. They want to make Joe have the stink, but the stink goes over to Kamala too. So half a dozen Democrats, totally bipartisan, as you can see. Their slim majority was boosted by Democrats, passed a resolution criticizing Harris for her work. 220 to 196. 6 Democrats voted for this puppy. Democrats from Maine, Jared Golden, shout out. Colorado, Don Davis. From North Carolina, Yadira from Colorado. Marie from Washington, and Henry Cuellar from Texas. Wow, and Alaska, all joining in. Republicans viewed the border security as a wedge issue. Kamala's trying to backpedal from this. We're going to hear Karine got asked about this from Ducey, because Ducey said, why are they sending out cards now saying that she was not the border czar, when in fact she clearly was? No matter what congressional district you go to, Stefanik said, border issues are number one. Here is what the scene looked like when they passed this resolution in the House. You can see time remaining, 214 votes.
The yeas are 220, the nays are 196. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
Womp. So sorry, Kamala. You are hereby condemned. And so that's good news from the House. Now, why are they doing this? Well, there's a major propaganda effort afoot, and I want to play this clip from you that came over from Newsbusters. Excellent account on X at Newsbusters. Be sure you're following them. But here's what they dropped, and I caught this one over from Eric Erickson. And here's how this video clip works. In the red is going to be the clip after Joe Biden is gone. And then in the blue, this is going to be before Biden drops out. Okay, so the blue, as we're going to see, is saying that Kamala is working on the border. The red is going to be Kamala is not responsible for the border. And we're just going to watch this back and forth, blue and red, blue and red. Kamala was on the border, red. Kamala was off the border. Same media, same lunatics, same issue, 2 totally different stories in denial of the truth.
Quote unquote border czar. Vice President, Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
Yes,
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.
Nothing has changed because Kamala is useless. So the media going into propaganda mode, the House of Representatives in a bipartisan effort have now condemned the Biden administration and its border czar, bipartisan, Democrats and Republicans agreeing. You've been condemned. Elise Stefanik brought this one in, saying on March 24, 2021, Biden asked Kamala to serve as the border czar to address the root causes of immigration. She took 93 days and then finally visited it in June of 2021. Then she traveled near the southern border for the first time in June. And when she did, she went to El Paso, Texas, which is 800 miles away from the Rio Grande. So kind of just like drove by it. What's that over there? Is that Mexico? You're kidding. Looks terrible. Whereas former U.S. Border Patrol Chief Raul Ortiz stated that during his 2 years in the position, Border Patrol Chief, he said this, I've never had one conversation with Biden, the Border Patrol Chief, or Harris. For that matter, I was the chief of the Border Patrol. I commanded 21,000 people. That's a problem. Never spoke to them at all. Says current Border Patrol Chief Jason Owens said that Kamala Harris has not even spoken with him since he was appointed in July of last year. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, there have been over 9.7 million illegals coming in and 7.9 million encounters nationwide at the southern border and nationwide between the two numbers. There have been 2 million known gotaways. These numbers are a fraction of the truth, whereas this number presents more known gotaways than in the previous decade combined. There were 170,000 illegal immigrant encounters in May, 170,000. That's like 1/3 of a Wyoming. Whereas May 24th, the 39th straight month, whereas monthly illegal immigrant encounters have been higher than ever seen under Trump. Violent histories with many of these people. American citizens murdered. Laken Riley, dead. Jocelyn Nungary, dead. Rachel Morin, dead. No remedies. NBC News reported that over 50 illegal immigrants with ties to ISIS were also brought in. 350 individuals have their names on terrorist watch lists. 31,000 Chinese nationals have come across the border. They spend $150 billion each year, costing each one of us $1,100 a year. You're welcome. In May 2024, the Committee on Homeland Security shows that Biden secretly flew 400,000 illegal immigrants into the country in various locations. And Biden's border czar, Harris, she resulted in a lot of this. They formally ended Trump's policies, which was remain in Mexico. And so because of this horrendous background, the House of Representatives strongly condemns Biden and his border czar, Kamala Harris. And they affirm that the American people deserve elected officials who aren't pieces of crap. And they clearly and firmly state that the continuation of these policies is terrible for America. And so sent all of that out, Kamala under scrutiny. And people are wondering what else she is doing that might be criminal. In fact, American Accountability Foundation sent this letter out. They sent this to Speaker Johnson. Did Kamala Harris commit a crime in demanding Joe Biden resign so she could take over his seat? The American Accountability Foundation sent this letter to the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. It says, "Dear Mr. Speaker, I am writing today to request that you charge the Committee on the Judiciary and Oversight with the investigation of whether Kamala extorted Joe Biden by threatening him under the 25th Amendment." Saying there have been multiple reports that leaders of the Democrat Party, including Kamala, used the threat of the 25th Amendment to end Joe Biden's campaign. The New York Post reported it. Constitution says they can, of course, invoke that. But did they do it, or are they threatening him? As the plain language makes clear, a demand by her could have been extortion. If she gave him an ultimatum saying, end your candidacy or I'm going to remove you, well, that doesn't seem right, because the 25th Amendment should only be used to actually remove somebody, you know? Shouldn't threaten somebody with a political attack. Like, either Joe's competent or not. You either hit him with the 25th Amendment because he's not competent and you remove him for the good of the country, like we all should want a competent president, or he is competent, but you're threatening him with removal, even though he's competent, right? Like, you're going to use the law as a cudgel against him. So it's not really appropriate to threaten him with that. If you threaten him with it, then it means, I mean, it's not really a threat. It's like, well, he's really not competent, so you should just do it. So it would be a violation of the law. Federal Code, 18 U.S. Code 872. You can't extort somebody for this. Either he's like removable or not. The president's frequent protestations that he was not leaving the race, he said he was capable. He said 2 weeks ago that he was staying in this race. I'm going to win. And he's gone now. So what external force was exerted upon the president? He gave numerous interviews, said, I am sticking around. This bizarre last-minute assertion might have been extortion. Then, in the middle of the night, there was a hastily penned letter written by some staffer posted on X. We didn't hear this dude for a long time. Might have been hallucinating, drugged up on COVID drugs. And so Biden may have been extorted. He may be the victim of a crime conducted by the Democratic Party. Isn't that an interesting thought? The people who say that there was an actual insurrection may have insurrected their own president under threat of removal utilizing the 25th Amendment. And really, you shouldn't be using that as a threat. Either he's competent or not. So we'll see if Merrick Garland investigates. We're sure he will not, because the White House is having a difficult time. Okay, Karine came out again for another press briefing. She's stumbling, bumbling all over herself, has no idea what the hell's going on in the White House. She was here like a week ago saying, nope, he's going to be great, going to run, going to be amazing, we're going to win. Now she's like, I think I'm out of a job. Like, I think Kamala doesn't like me. I'm done. I didn't rack up a deal with MSNBC like Jen Psaki did to get my show. So she's having a hard time. Here's what it sounds like.
Work for this man who has served his country for more than 50 years with honor and dignity, and I look forward to continue to work with him again for ahead in the next several months.
Ahead in the, because he's not going to be president again for another term. So, like, I guess for the next 6 months, and then we're not working together ever. I guess. Depressed.
Today, the Department of Homeland Security released additional data on the impacts of the executive action President Biden announced on June 4th. Since then, encounters at the border between ports of entry have dropped more than 55%.
Because you stopped counting them.
Encounters are now lower than they were at the end of the previous administration and lower than at this point back in 2019. But we know the only way to bring lasting solutions to secure the border, and to begin to fix the broken immigration system is to pass the bipartisan border security agreement. Sadly,
wrong.
Congressional Republicans have decided to put partisan politics ahead of our national security, and twice voted against the bipartisan agreement and badly needed resources to hire additional border policy patrol agents and fentanyl detection techniques.
Okay, so going to go on with their little border thing. It's like, you guys failed on the border, and Joe's not even going to be the president again. Like, he's done. So are you still trying to sell that story? What's the deal? the border's a disaster. And in fact, Peter Ducey was asking about this. Our friend ALX clipped this for us. Says Karine Jean-Pierre denies this border czar problem at all. And the truth is, she was supposed to solve this. So here's how that went down.
Democrats on Capitol Hill are being handed this card with talking points about the vice president and the border. Do you know who's handing this out?
I have no idea. You probably should ask her campaign.
So the first one says Vice President Harris was never appointed border czar. There's never been such a position. It doesn't exist. Why are Democrats so sensitive about the vice president and the border?
Why are Republicans so sensitive about actually not owning up to them getting in the way of a border deal? Why? Why won't they own up to that? Why won't they own up to the last president?
Because we're not going to agree to 4,000 illegals coming in every day. Karine, your plan was terrible. We don't want a plan just to get a plan done. We want actual border security. So when you come out and say, we're going to codify illegal immigration, answer's no, weirdo.
And told them not to move forward. It was a bipartisan deal on just right there, available to them, and they voted twice against it. Twice against it. Why are they so sensitive to moving forward and actually dealing on an issue that majority of Americans care about, is dealing with what's going on at the border?
Yeah, but they're not handing out little note cards, Karine, for a sensitive Kamala.
Do you think that the border would be less of a talking point now if there was less migration to the border? Say, if somebody had addressed root causes of migration.
Like
Wait,
Kamala.
hold on a second. Did you not hear the beginning of I know there were a lot of toppers, but one of the toppers, I talked about what we're seeing at the border. It's down by 55%, not because of Republicans in Congress and what they did. It's because of what this president and this vice president did. He moved forward and took actions to deal with what's going on at the border. Republicans continue to block getting resources to the Border Patrol agents. They continue to block actually dealing with an immigration system.
So is Kamala going to be involved in, is she done with the border now since she's running for president? Is she still working on this? What's going on?
So yes, we are going to debunk the false characterization of the vice president. She was not a border czar. And it's not just us. Independent fact checkers have said the same thing, that did not exist, and that is not true.
Okay, so get ready for this, my friends. We have like 5 months of this left. It's going to be rough. 4 months of this. They're just going to keep deleting evidence, changing their old news stories. Everything that we saw here is going to go back into the trash can. And they're going to try to reinvent a new narrative because that's all they can do. And they have a lot of power to do it. So Karine was also asked about Joe Biden's funeral eulogy. I've never seen a politician literally eulogize themselves on national TV. Wild. I didn't even know you could do that. Thought you had to be dead for that, but somebody else did your eulogy. But Joe Biden eulogized himself. His family sat there and watched him. And then they went and had ice cream. Never seen anything like it. Wild. So did we learn anything from that Oval Office address where he was indulging himself and how great he is? No, we didn't. Did we get any answers about why he's not running? Does he think he can win? Is it health? Does he have dementia? What's going on? No answers. Media still flying blind with the rest of us.
Yeah, sure. For such a monumental decision, the president did address why he left the race.
Well, thank you.
But he left a lot of it for us to read between the lines. He did not make clear why he's leaving the race. Even in the excerpts that you bring up.
I know the audio's low.
He says that, the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. Is he saying it's because he was too old? In another one, he said that it was for the sake of democracy. That does not answer why he thought he was in the way of democracy. So why did he make this decision?
A new generation, and he also said the next sentence was to unite. It's also to unite the nation. Look, the president has talked about this twice. One in a letter that he addressed to the American people on Sunday, laying out a very monumental, to your point, it is a monumental decision that he made, and he thought very long and hard. He also said that he's been serving this country as a public servant for more than 50 years. It is not an easy decision to make. He talked about unity. He talked about the next generation. He talked about passing the torch. I was asked in this room a couple of days, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, all of these days are coming together, that when the president ran in 2020, he talked about passing the torch. He talked about the next generation. He talked about being a bridge to the next generation. And I was asked.
All right, so still no answers. Nobody really knows why he is leaving regardless. CNN asking interesting questions. If he is gone and it's because of his competency and capability not running again, then why is he still in the White House? They get into it on CNN, and here is how the panel breaks down.
When somebody says he had to, they don't understand the presidency. If he were investigated and he was about to be impeached and maybe removed,
that's so obviously false that I mean.
It's not so obviously false.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, he did not have to.
Give it up. He has not given it up. He's still there for another 6 months when he's manifestly incapable.
Tell me how you know he's manifestly incapable.
I'm sorry to say that this is a sensitive matter where there are a lot of folks who have been talking about this for some time.
Oh, yes, I've heard them too. My doctor tells me he thinks he might have something.
There you go.
But he also says, but he's not my patient.
And look, the deeper problem, the deeper question is who is actually in charge at any given time? You know, this notion that he's only sharp for 6 hours of the day. Right. This is an incredibly volatile moment in part because of his failures.
Are we having everything you're saying, I'm sorry, is speculation. Let me tell you what is not speculation.
It's not speculation.
It is speculation because actually, unlike you, I've actually seen the guy at 9 o'clock at night.
We have too. It's rough. We had a whole debate. We saw him at 9 o'clock at night. All of us watched it, lady.
I have seen him after he has had 5 different events in 24 hours.
Might that cloud your judgment?
No, what?
Do you think that makes you more objective?
Well, I think the fact that I have actually seen him, whereas you're just reading gossip and speculation gossip.
We all have. Okay, we all saw him on a debate. He's rough. He can't talk.
We all saw the debate. We all saw the debate where Joe Biden was clearly incompetent, unable to address questions that he should have been able to address. We know that Robert Hur and Merrick Garland kept those audio tapes from the public.
And Democratic lawmakers.
And we all saw the debate, which is why Kamala Harris was now going to be running for president, deceived the American people.
This is a story.
One at a time.
I appreciate that the enthusiasm that Kamala Harris has now sparked in the Democratic Party has made some people nervous. But the story that Joe Biden is lying to the public is not. When was the last time you were with Joe Biden? When was the last time you were Joe Biden?
We just saw him speak last night. He looked like he was going to die.
So if you weren't...
There are a lot of Democrats in Congress who were with him in October 2021 who were frightened and afraid in October 2021.
Hey, come on, guys. The reason he's not running again is because of his incapability. Like, it's the most obvious thing ever, but they still can't accept it.
Because he could not clearly communicate a case for passing major legislation, something that he specialized in during the Obama administration.
Donald Trump's chief of staff was afraid of Donald Trump.
They still, the whole Republican Party is still afraid of Donald Trump.
That was a real vulnerability.
The only time that we have talked about the 25th Amendment regarding a precedent in the recent history has been cabinet members of Donald Trump.
I appreciate the pivot. I think that makes a lot of sense.
No, it's not a pivot. It's true.
I just like to say thank you.
Okay, so that's what's happening all across Democratic tables, all across America, my friends. It's just a bloodbath in their dining rooms. So we also have Trump, who is enjoying a lot of this as the Democrats continue to contort themselves into pretzels to justify, well, they're basically their entire party. We love Joe. He's totally capable. Actually, we hate Joe, and now he needs to go. But when he goes, we love him again. And now Kamala, who is terrible, we love her all of a sudden until she sucks. Then we're going to love someone else. Very strange. I think they're in open political relationships. They really don't care, who the person is, whatever. It's very transactional with them. It's kind of disgusting. But here's Trump saying he's ready to play and excited about getting into it and going hard on Kamala.
For 3.5 years, Lion Kamala Harris has been the ultra-liberal driving force behind every single Biden catastrophe. She is a radical left lunatic who will destroy our country. If she ever gets the chance to get into office, we're not going to let that happen.
True.
You know, I was supposed to be nice. They say something happened to me when I got shot. I became nice. And when you're dealing with these people, they're very dangerous people. When you're dealing with them, you can't be too nice. You really can't be. So if you don't mind, I'm not going to be nice.
We don't mind, okay? Mr. President. We don't mind a bit.
They want me to be nice. Thank you. Kamala Harris is the most liberal elected politician in American history. Did you know that? She's an ultra-liberal politician.
Terrible.
She's absolutely terrible. She's, as you know, more liberal than Bernie Sanders. Can you believe it? She's rated far more liberal than Bernie Sanders. And she's now trying to get rid of her record, but she can't. She's going out and saying things that she doesn't believe in. If she ever got in, she'd destroy this country so fast.
It's rough with Kamala. Democrats are going through a little honeymoon period for the current moment. But once people get to know Kamala, they're going to wake up the next morning and look over and go, oh, what have we done? Is there any way we can find someone else? Time might be out. We'll see if that happens or not. But we'll be here continuing to cover it, my friends. Thank you for joining us as we do. Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel as well. Thank you for inviting someone you know or love to come check it out when we go live. We'd love to see them and you back here on the next one. All right, my friends. That is it for us on the day. We covered some good stuff. Assassination business, Crooks business. We've got Kamala nonsense. Now let's hear from you. Let's see what you say about all this. Thank you so much for sending in these amazing donos in the house. We got Pritchie, been a membo for 5 months. Thank you, Pritchie, for being here for 5 full months, man. Says, I'm back. I've been a struggle with health, back and forth to the hospital, but dang, things have gone crazy. I expected an assassination attempt. Glad he's okay. Yeah, Pritchie, it's been a while since we've seen you. I know you were in the hospital for a while, went home. Sorry to hear that you're kind of back and forth, but hopefully you're feeling better, and we're glad to see you back. Thanks for being a membo. Stacy, what's up? Became a new YouTube membo. Hey, new membos, don't forget to grab the morning stream. We really tried to deliver for our members here. We do streams in the morning, and we'd love to have you join us. What's up? Ben A. says, hey, thanks, Ben. Ben, thanks for this nice one. Says, hi, Robert. Thank you for deciphering the mountain of documents in the Trump cases and the deep state hit on President Trump. Says, God bless, Ben A. Thanks, Ben. God bless you back, my friend. Thanks for supporting our work. Thanks for doing this. We'll have some more court updates soon enough, but kind of waiting for all the dust to settle on the assassination stuff. What's up? James Butler in the house says, hey, Rob, I've been a serial lurker since the great big Fanny days. Yeah, that was a wild one too, man. Says, I love your stream. It's fantastic. Keep up the great work, my friend. Thank you, James. Honestly, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a membo. Thanks for saying that, sending that one in. Yeah, that was a wild one. This has been a wild year. We have seen so many crazy things over the last 12 months. It's unreal. Fanny, immunity decisions, Supreme Court removal, ballot removal stuff, criminal prosecutions, Trump assassination attempt, Biden not running. It gets nuts. Glad you're here, James. Hey, what's up, Beth? 4 months as a membo. Says, I pray for America every day. Well, thank you for doing that, Beth. I think it might be working. Keep it up. We appreciate it. This one from Arbad says, fan for 2 years. Thank you, Arbad. Says, thanks. There was an FAA TFR in effect. Wow, this looks complicated. FAA TFR in effect, FDC 4/0050. Okay, so those of you FAA folks who can speak this language, probably like a no flight restrictions, right? For July 13th, 4:20 to 6:15 Eastern time, applied to everything up to 1,000 feet AGL. Most MFGs, manufacturers, auto check FAA databases in real time and prevent flights. Wow, that's really interesting. So most drone manufacturers are checking that in real time and they won't fly certain areas if they just beam out. That's fascinating. So really good details, are bad. Thanks for that. So I'm sure a lot of other people understand what all that means. I don't really know what all that means, but sounds like there were restrictions. So would they be monitoring that? So if the shooter brought a drone out and was flying it, they would be, oh, somebody's in violation of that, right? Theoretically. Interesting, our bad. What's up? Denise is here. Says, I believe 3 shots were fired from the attacker and the other 5 were planted. How? I can only assume. Yeah, some people also have an idea that there was that weird ATF agent, that guy in the coat who jumped up on the roof. Maybe first, maybe somebody else gets up there, throws some shells out. And there were other theories, which I'm not sure that I believe or not, I'm just discussing them, is that there was another shooter behind the original shooter, right? So he fires 1, 2, 3, misses, crap, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to see if they can hit Trump, someone else, backup shooter 2, from the same line of sight, essentially, just up in another window behind the shooter. Sniper comes out, takes out the patsy, and the rest, is history. But who knows? Joseph D says there is a man dead, 2 wounded, and the president was shot. I surely hope you didn't break a sweat. Yeah, probably talking to the Secret Service agents or those other cops. It's a little warm out. It's a little humid, man. It's summertime. Oops. Sorry, someone's dead now. You kind of feel bad about that one, right? Hopefully there are ramifications for that. Right? It's not a joke, as you mentioned. Real with Robo says, wasn't the other roof hot as well? I'm sure they were hot. I'm sure they were hot, but not hot enough. The shooter was climbing across it and up there for plenty of time. What's up? Jack Mack says, sincerely doubt incompetence happened to occur the exact same day a random 20-year-old just happened to be able to roam freely with ladders and rifles and climbing buildings and all the things without being stopped. Rangefinder, seen, photographs taken. All of it's a little too coincidental. Yeah, once you see 5 layers of incompetence, and there's different checks and balances to prevent that incompetence, you start asking yourself, did you leave that door unlocked? Was that an accident, leaving the door unlocked, or did you you just didn't lock the door? Good to see you, Jack. Thanks for that one. Nice one. Hey, what's up, Brad? Our bad says, I'm in public safety field 34 years and drone unit, head for my department. How cool is that? Word is short time window because the kamikaze or drop fear. No aeroscope detection used. Everyone I know strongly believes all is shady. Wow. Everyone I know strongly believes all is shady. From our bad, who seemingly knows. Seems like you really know what you're talking about, our bad. Good to know. Thanks for stopping by and educating us. We got 200 Watt Studio says, it doesn't matter what he was hit with, he was shot at. Well, they like to mince, it's not an actual bullet, is what they'll say. He wasn't actually shot because they're so mad that he got shot. They're so mad about it. Because now he can say it. I took a bullet for democracy. They don't want him to say that. It's such a good line. Sap says, guys, I think they arrest Trump, pass the Disgrace Act. He won't have Secret Service in jail. Clinton's will take him out like Epstein. This needs to be stopped. No doubt. Yeah, that definitely does need to be stopped. A lot of things would have to happen there. I don't know that they're going to actually sentence him after the immunity decision came down. I think Judge Merchan is a little bit stuck. This one from Joseph Dowlern says, I was in law enforcement for 18 years. I know Trump was shot at just by him saying he heard zip, zip. If you hear pow, pow, you were only shot near. That's interesting. Okay, so that's a fun little distinction there. Zip, zip is you're getting shot at. Pow, pow is you're getting shot near. Right? So if it's pow, pow, you might be okay. But if it's zip, zip, you better move, man. You better move. Not good. Thank you, Joseph, for that distinction. I like those little rhymes like, for snakes and stuff, like if black touches yellow, you're a dead fellow. If red touches black, you're okay, Jack. Something like that. Don't take my word for that, okay? Don't go play around with snakes and trust that rhyme. But that's, little interesting monikers. I don't know if that's true or not, but just don't touch any snakes, okay? Hey, Kurt Steven says, apparently some polls say Harris is ahead. Yeah, we did talk about that this morning. And we were trying to find the sampling of one of those polls, but it was like 17% more Democrats or something. A lot of polls, a lot of push polls out there. Yeah, red and black is friendly, Jack. Black and yellow is deadly, fellow. See? Stuff like that, right? Is that right? Yeah, good stuff. What's up, Elizabeth? Elizabeth Capone Cook in the house. Thank you, Elizabeth, for supporting us on the day. Our bad. Says the Nazi SS interim director is Ron Rutrow. Evil. Good to see you, Arbad. Paul M. What's up, Paul M? Says Bongino says that his sources say the shot that killed the shooter was from 400 yards through the trees. Shot was not from the roof behind the stage. Well, I think, so that's interesting. So I'm not sure what Bongino said, but I think the one that Fox said was also through the trees, right? I think he was shooting through the trees because there was the tree that the shooter was hiding behind. So both things might be consistent, actually. I'm not sure. Jack Mack says, fed up with the revisionist history. They are doing a lot of it. It's pretty wild because we lived it. We remember it. But that's just what they do. If they lie long enough, everybody will believe it. And they're good at it because they control a lot of the media. Dennis Petit, what's up, says, Harris serves at his pleasure. She can be fired without fanfare. She has to convince the cabinet to fire him. So ergo, no extortion. Well, I mean, she could threaten him, right? But I see what you're saying. The defense would be, no, it's not just me. And the other defense would be, I'm allowed to talk about this, right? But if she truly believes that he is incompetent, then she should probably institute it, right? Probably like go and actually take action on it because that would be her responsibility then. And if she's not doing that, then threatening him with it is not a legitimate threat. It's using the law. But I understand your position. But I'd still like to see her charged because why not? Stan, what's up? Says, I've read that the shooter was knowledgeable in computer tech. Are there social media apps on the dark web? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are dark web apps, right, that you use to access the dark web. And then there's other things inside the dark web, which I know nothing about. What's up? One old guy's opinions says Kamala sparked in the Repub Democrat part. Sparked in the, oh, I see. Yeah. Kamala really, it created a lot of enthusiasm for the Democrats. Yeah, I caught that too. Hey, Kevlar says anyone is better than Joe, but Kamala, they found the only person who isn't. Yeah, and you see that a lot. Like Obama picked Biden because Joe was way less incompetent, or was way more incompetent. So it's like they're going to keep Obama around because Joe's so much worse. So Joe did that same format. But now we go from an Obama to a Biden, which is already like a major step down. And then you go from a Biden to a Kamala. It's like rough. It's like a whole different, it's like JV. It's like just bad. So then that's where we're at. It's rough. What's up? Newt Gadget in the house says, asking for you and all members well wishes and prayers here. For my wife, Lisa. Newt Gadget's wife, Lisa, is recovering from a below-knee amputation. Wow, that's a big one. Getting her prosthetics this coming Tuesday, hoping to be walking again by the middle of August. Wow. So Newt Gadget and Lisa, mega prayers from our fam here and the Watcher community over to you. That's a major life-changing surgery. Sounds like you've got a great team of people here who are getting you through it there. And you'll be walking again in no time, middle of August. That's right around the corner. So tremendous. We wish you a speedy recovery and all the best. Thanks for sharing that with us, Newt. Those prayers are coming in hot. We got this one from Karen Wickhorst. What's up, Karen? Became a new member on the YouTubes. Great to have you. Grab that morning stream. And Rick says, like a hair in a biscuit, like a hair in a biscuit. I love your channel. I've not heard of that one before. You like hairs and biscuits? What kind of biscuits are we talking about here? I'm not real sure what that one means, but I do appreciate the nice comment. Thanks for sending that one in. It's the very nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Thanks for that. Hey, what's up? We got some friends over on Locals, and we had some donos come in over on the Rumbles, I do believe. There may have been one or two. I think my Rumbles may have frozen or something. Let's see. Oh, man. Hopefully I didn't screw that up again. Using this Rumble Rants app, and it doesn't seem like it's working all that well. Let's see here. We did have one. Hey, we had one from Rumble. Hey, David says Mayorkas is 18th in line of succession to POTUS. According to Wikipedia, he's Cuban-born. How can he be anywhere in the line of succession to the POTUS? Well, he might be, a citizen, right? He still might be he's Cuban born, but you can be born like McCain was not born in the geographic United States, right? But he was born on a base. So if it's still subject to the jurisdiction thereof, I think that can still count. So I'm not sure exactly what the background is on that, David Wavid, but yeah. And I don't know how far they challenge that. Like, is somebody going to challenge that? Is somebody going to sue to get him out based on that? And I think a court would say that's just too speculative or something. So I'm not sure what the mechanism would be to challenge that and remove somebody, but it's very interesting. I don't know the background on Mayorkas, but you can be born overseas and still be a citizen is another point. What's up? Milo Phone Bill says, isn't it interesting that my drone won't fly if there's a temporary flight restriction over a certain area? Yeah, that is interesting. Your drone won't fly. And there was, right? So that's exactly what Arbad was telling us, Milo. There was a restricted, temporary flight restriction, TFR. Sounds like that was over there. Yep. Rub some dirt on it. Says, surprise, no TAM for the rally site on 7/13 made any drone flights illegal. Den the Men says, someone needs to pay for all the incompetence. No doubt. Politically speaking. Original Easy says, and maybe criminally speaking. Original Easy on Local says, the House rules on the formation of the committee does not say 11 members. Says there must be 5 from the minority. It says no more than 11, more than 5. By that reading, you could have 5 Republicans and 1 Democrat on this committee. Knox says, what's up, Knox? Says, happy Thursday, all. Off to Granny's story hour with the grandbabies. Ooh, we are reading My Grandmother Sends Her Regards and Apologies. It's a story about a non-traditional granny, like your girl Knox right here. Shout out, Knox, to the new grandbabies. Knox has 2 new grandbabies in tow. And that's awesome, Knox. Have a beautiful Thursday. This old guy says, Trump was injured. Could have easily been killed by whatever caused the injury. Shrapnel, glass, bullet, whatever. Doesn't matter what caused the injury. An assassin caused the injury. So give me a break. And go look for a different windmill to tilt at. Quixote? I like that, this old guy. Thanks for the very nice dono. They want to minimize it however they can. And so if they could change it from a bullet to glass or shrapnel, it would make them much happier. Because anything that Trump does that is good for him and heroic is bad for them. So they'll keep milking it. Thanks for the nice dono and a great comment about Don Quixote. What's up? Original Easy says, there is something going around today in virus. Democrats are going around with this crazy laugh, just cackling. Are all the other Democrats cackling? Is everybody cackling now? They should. Hopefully they do. They cackle a lot, and then that will be good for America. Everybody can see how they are. Jack Mack says, it might be time to slow down the rhetoric. Am I wrong in observing that this typically happens to the right? Poor old man, 2 lives lost, so unnecessary. I saw this, yeah. A suspect, age 22, who allegedly ran over Michigan Trump supporters with aged 80 with an ATV, kills himself. I saw that. Terrible story. He called the cops, said, yeah, I did it. They showed up to his house. He was dead. Over politics. Terrible. 2 dead people. This old guy says, if the president is unable to prosecute his responsibilities, says, the vice president and the cabinet have a duty to invoke the 25th Amendment. Failing to do so is a violation of their oath. Threatening to do so is prima facie evidence that they have reason to believe that he's impaired. So their oath has been violated. It's very simple. Yeah, I don't think you can threaten somebody with that because it either applies or it doesn't. And if you threaten them with it and don't execute it, then you're violating your duty to remove them. And if you're threatening them and they're not actually incompetent, then you're threatening them, politically speaking, with something that you shouldn't be threatening them with. So it's corrupt. So very good stuff, my friends. That's over on Locals. We are going to go over to Locals and stick around because there's some more Membo comments over there from Radice, from Dana in the house. I see Tobo's over there. What's up, Elliot? Our Doc Master's over there. And so we are going to go over there. Let's say what's up to our friends on X very quickly. We'll give a couple shout outs before we go on over to Locals. What's going on? We got some X friends. Fred Petamonte says that they're going to add in Schiff, Goldman, Raskin, Plaskett, and Nadler. What's up, Ryan V? Says, looking good, Rob. Stay fresh. You too, Ryan. Thanks for saying that. What's up, Fred? We got Brandy Coffee. Shout out from Michigan. Carrie the Cat Mom says, why is the gun so far away from the body? And Janet says, yes, it counts, just like PR. So some good comments over on X. Thanks for following us over on X. Just search our name. Will, of course, pop up. But that, my friends, is going to be it for us on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Hey, we had some other donos come in on Rumble. From Penny Whitbrod. What's up, Penny? Says, Rob, I have to say, your dramatic readings and your interpretations make the show. Thank you for that, Penny. Sometimes I can really get into it if it's good or not. Like the Hawley one was pretty good today. That was fun to read. Thanks, Penny. You know Penny Whitbrod, right? She's right on Rumble, right next door. Nurse Penny. Check out her channel. Thanks, Penny, for saying that, for supporting us on the Rumble, for being a member, for having a channel, for speaking the truth. Grateful to have you here. From Penny Whitbrod on Rumble as Nurse Penny. But okay, my friends, that is, let me check, see whether we've got, we had some other membos come in. Oh my goodness, look at this one. Holy moly, Rick. Rick is bringing in 50 membos, 100 membos in the House. So Jeremiah Greger says, saw earlier today that Bragg is urging the judge to reject the immunity claim. Yeah, I was going to read it. What we'll probably do, so Trump will have a reply to that. We'll probably read that, and it will incorporate a lot of Bragg's response. So I did see that was filed. Also, Trump is appealing the Tisch case. Yeah, so there's a lot more to talk about. What's up, Rick? Thanks for doing this. Rick brought in 50 membos. Let's shout out some of these membos. So Rick brought in 100 membos, all total. I can't even believe it, Rick. 100. 100 membos. That's amazing. Sent in 2 of these. You can't tell the difference between the 2, but there's 2 of them. Look at all these people who came in. Have a good one. Mark Griffiths. We got Rosemary Rapp. Brandon L. D. Watts in the house. Pop came in. We got D. Keys. Funkadelics here. KM's in the house. Scott L. What's up? Mia J. So many names, man. Irina. 50 membos. They're all scattered all over the place in my chat. And it's just incredibly generous of you, Rick, to do that. Thanks for bringing them all in. And in fact, you know who's here clipping all these today for us? Is Donut Mind Me. Oh my gosh, Donut. Clipping away for us. Donut's clipping. Wild Horses, Pitchlock. We got Tony D, Skippy Peanut Butter. We got Chris JJ, Nathan H, Michael O'Grady. Oh my goodness, look at all these people coming in. And Donut clipped them all for us. Thank you, Donut. Smoke in the Water. Nana's in the house. If I missed you, my friends, you know that Rick 4962 brought you in. There were so many names. James S, Pam Lamp, Tina A, all gifted membos. Rick, thanks for doing that, man. New membos, we'll see you tomorrow. The members only morning stream, and we'll see you, and make sure you catch this morning's stream because there's some extra good content in there. One Old Guy's Opinions says, born in and subject to the United States is a natural born citizen. Yeah, and that second phrase, I think, is the one that is up for debate. So physically in, but also subject to the jurisdiction, not just geographic. Subject to the jurisdiction is in there. It means something. Jack Mack says, Harry biscuits are delicious, Rob. LOL. We love you and your show. Harry biscuits. All right. I'll have to take your word for that one, Jack. I don't even want to look them up. So I'll just take your word for it, Jack. Thanks for that. And Rick, like a hair in a biscuit. Love your channel. I don't know what is going on right now. And now I'm too scared to look. Hey, what's up? Marlene Stewart says Rick wins the gold. Seriously, 100 membos, Rick. Thanks for doing that, man. Really cool. New membos, welcome aboard. Very nice to have you. Jeremiah, we saw that one. And what's up, Newt Gadget? We're sending prayers your way for your beautiful wife and her speedy recovery. And so that, my friends, is where we are going to leave it on the day. We are going to head on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. And we would just absolutely love it if you would come over there and join us. But if not, that's no problem at all. We are going to see you back here tomorrow. It's going to be Friday, and the schedule might change a little bit tomorrow. So make sure that you are subscribed and you hit that notification bell. We might go early because we might have a special guest who will be joining us, and we'll see if we can get that worked out. But that, my friends, is going to be it for us on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com to hang out, debrief for a little bit longer. Come and join us. If we don't see you there, we are going to be back here tomorrow to get into it again. And in order to do that, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. See you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.